Python does not have a lot of rules, but the rules that it has, you do need to pay attention to. So it is case sensitive. When you create variables, upper and lower case are treated differently. So if I did something like this, okay, I created the variable with lowercase, but then I try to print it with uppercase, I am going to get an error. And you can see the error down here. Name error. Name message 1 is not defined. That is because I created it with a lowercase m. So if I change this and save my changes, you'll notice that that little red squiggle goes away and it will now run. So it is a case sensitive language. The new lines are used to signify the end of a command. If for some reason you have code that needs to continue on to another line, then you have to use the continuation character. Okay, so you'll do a plus for concatenation and a slash, which means you are continuing. If we are creating an array or an object, and we are using brackets or curly braces and the code is on multiple lines, we don't really need to worry about the continuation character, okay? Because we haven't ended the object or the array, so it knows that the multiple lines go together. Python uses indentation for blocks of code, and it's very picky about the indentation. So if you have a block of code, which normally would go in curly braces, and one line you indent 3, and the next line you indent 5, it is not going to like that. You have to be very specific, and you have to think through how you are indenting, and you have to use the same number of spaces. Okay, and for readability, 5 spaces are easier to recognize than 1, but 1 space is considered indenting, so keep that in mind. If you wanted to have comments, you need a hashtag at the beginning of the line. So if I wanted to comment out print because it was erroring, I could just put a little hashtag in front and that makes that line a comment. So Python variables are reserved memory locations and they store values. And when you create a variable, you are occupying some space in memory. So these two variables, message1 and message2, are stored in memory. Typically, you use an equal sign, which is the assignment operator, to place values into your variables. So the operand on the left is the variable name. The operand on the right is the value that you are storing. The Python interpreter is going to determine the data type of the variable, and based on what it believes your data type should be, it reserves the memory location for it. As far as rules for naming your variables, variable names can contain letters, numbers, and underscores, and you can start it with a letter or an underscore, but not a number. Spaces are not allowed. Keywords are not allowed. You should try to keep the variables short and descriptive. You should not code your variables in uppercase letters. Those have variables in uppercase have their own meaning in Python. So for regular variables like we're using, they should not be in uppercase. And the names are case sensitive. A very common error that new developers make is if they do upper and lowercase letters, they forget which ones they capitalized. And you saw what happened when I capitalized the M in message when I tried to print. It gave me an error. So you should try to use the same conventions when you name your variables. Either do all lowercase. What people often do is a mixed case called camel case, where the first word is lowercase and then the first letter of the second word is uppercase, like first name or last name. That's called camel case. I tend to code that way. Many developers code that way. Whatever way you choose to code, you have to be consistent and then you won't run into problems. Python is loosely typed, so that means that even though you store text in a variable, we can reuse it and we can store a number. Okay, so it doesn't have to be only one type of data that you put in a variable. Now, what if you are concerned that the interpreter is going to assign the wrong data type? You can actually use what's called a typecast, and you can tell the interpreter what kind of data it is. So if I wanted to make sure that 20 is going to be a string, I can actually put str and in parentheses put the value, and it will store it as a string. So why does it matter if Python guesses wrong? Results vary, especially in arithmetic, if it's dealing with a number or a string. And you'll see that in our hands-on exercise. So if you are concerned that it is interpreting it wrong or you know it's interpreting it wrong, there is a workaround for that. If you aren't sure of what data type is being assigned, there is a type function that you can use. It's just the word type and in parentheses, the variable name that you are wanting to check. Ways that you can assign values to variables, you can do a simple assignment statement, or you can assign multiple variables at once. And this comes down to kind of your personal preference when it comes to coding. And at this point, we are going to work on another hands-on.